Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking about the Nevada Clean Energy and Transportation Conference with Lina and Paul Nelson. Here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
It's the $100,000 Cash is King Progressive giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Giveaways every Saturday with a Progressive up to $20K and $15,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. There's another 100,000 reasons to play and win at the Carson Valley Inn.
Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School for workwear and everyday wear. Evaporative coolers, outdoor living, Weber's, Traeger's, and Lodge. Fill your propane tanks here. Big R on Bering Boulevard in Sparks next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. Big R. Hardware, clothing, and a whole lot more.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good times are Tamarack.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are pleased to welcome back to the program Lina. She is with Nevada Clean Energy and Transportation, the conference that has actually occurred at Lake Tahoe. If you're watching this on television, if you're watching this online, then it may not have occurred yet, but we wanted to put some promotion toward this. Paul Nelson is also here with the RTC of Washoe County. He's in government affairs there. Pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you.
So, the first thing I want to say is that when you look at Lake Tahoe, have you ever been to Lake Como in Italy?
I haven't.
Okay.
Bucket list.
It is one of the most stunning lakes in the world. It's actually like 3 lakes. But what they have that's totally cool is they have ferries going across it from all different directions. So you can get to wherever you want to get to. It's fabulous. And the first thing that anybody from Nevada thinks when they go there is, why aren't we doing this at Lake Tahoe? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bring that into what we're talking about in terms of electrifying and what we're doing for the lake.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. So
thank you, folks. We're done. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So Lake Tahoe, I would say, is a perfect place for this discussion. It's not unique to Lake Tahoe, but it is something that's specific to these types of mountain towns that that are at elevation, that have seasons, where you have these impacts from air emissions that really are exasperated in a sense. And Tahoe has struggled with this for a very long time with their infrastructure. If you've been in Nevada for a very long time, it's not the Tahoe of my youth driving up there. It's the traffic, all of that obviously is a huge concern. Also a very expensive fix. But one of the things I think that would be a dream for Tahoe is a ferry system. And we have put together this transportation forum, and we're really excited that there is a hydrogen fuel cell ferry company that's going to be on some of our panels, and there is one that operates right now in the San Francisco Bay. So we're really interested to talk to them, because even if it weren't hydrogen fuel cell, it would still alleviate traffic across the lake if you had really an operational ferry system. But to do it in a way that is also low emission, I think is just a win-win.
Well, and also something that is frequent. It's like for anybody that's been to a big city, if you're on a bus route, it's not every 2 hours that the bus comes. It's every 10 minutes, because that's the only way that you can really make it functioning. Paul, part of what you're going to do is moderate the hydrogen fuel panel. Mm-hmm. Tell us what you've learned from RTC and how that's going to apply in terms of what you do with this panel?
Yeah, I mean, so we operate, all of our bus fleet is alternative fuels. About a third of them are electric. And the cool thing about the hydrogen fuel cell buses, it's that they're still electric buses, only we don't have to take them back to the station and charge them up, which takes several hours. Instead, the hydrogen fuel cell will charge the battery as it's driving. So instead of getting about 100 miles of range in the electric buses, we can get about a 300-mile range in the hydrogen fuel cell buses. So that gives us a lot more flexibility on the routes that we can use. A lot of our routes are around 200 miles. So by having the extra range, it allows us to use those buses in different ways that we can't with the electric buses.
Okay, so with electric cars, you have the regenerative braking. So as you're braking in the car, you're actually adding mileage to that car, which is an interesting deal. How does the hydrogen cells work in terms of that you don't have to take it back to a station, or how do you recharge it?
So we'll have a tank that we're going to have our permanent fueling facility over on Sutro Street. And what happens is you go and you'll fill up the tank with hydrogen, just like you do with gasoline. And then as you're driving it, that hydrogen is what actually charges the battery. So it's kind of cool. It's like having a charger the entire time that you're driving it.
Okay, and until the hydrogen runs out, is that essentially what happens?
Yep. So the hydrogen, yeah, it'll run out. And the nice thing about it too is it doesn't give off any air pollution. There's no carbon emissions. All it gives off is water vapor.
Well, and the RTCs in Nevada, both in Southern Nevada and in Washoe County, have been leaders in this kind of technology from the beginning. With the electric buses, and I'm kind of curious, I just purchased an electric car a few months ago, so I'm curious, you use superchargers to be able to charge the buses, I presume?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so how long does it take, how far down do you allow the buses to go in terms of miles left before you have to charge them, and how long does it take to charge a bus, I presume to at least 80% capacity?
I think generally when they bring it back, they'll charge them overnight. Otherwise, I do think it takes several hours for them to charge those buses. I don't know how long they'll drive them, whether they'll push it, to the very end or not. But what they do is they'll put these electric buses on shorter routes, and hopefully routes that are more flat, because what they found is that the terrain, if you're going up hills, you're not going to get the same range that you would if you're on a flat surface. And then you've also got the different temperatures. So when you've got the heat, then you'll turn on the air conditioner, and then that will use some of the battery.
Right.
Yeah. In the wintertime, you turn on the heater. So it's there are some limitations, but we've heard a lot of positive feedback from our customers because they don't have to listen to the loud diesel, and they don't have to smell the fumes anymore.
Yes, and that's kind of interesting on a number of levels there. By the way, when you're coming downhill, you do charge the batteries. So going uphill may be an issue, but coming downhill the other way. Hans Zimmer, who is a famous composer, did The Lion King, Pirates of the Caribbean, and many others. He designed the sounds for BMW vehicles because of the danger of no noise from a vehicle. And so BMW wanted to have a sound, and he actually composed sounds that people who drive BMWs, you know they're coming because you can hear a sound, but it's not a car sound that they recorded, it's actually a composition that he did.
It's not a lion's roar from The Lion King?
Not that I'm aware of so far. Maybe if you hit the wrong button.
I don't think you want a bus sneaking up on you.
Yeah, exactly.
or anything else for that matter. And especially, if you're riding a bicycle, for example, just somebody, a pedestrian, they need to be aware that there's a vehicle coming down the road and potentially at a high rate of speed. Tell me what the basis of this convention is all about.
So we had this conference back in February that was 2 days and kind of a kickoff to the legislative session, and my colleagues Tom Polkos and Kevin McGehee, we have done that from before the pandemic, and then and it started a conversation. We had great attendance at that conference, and Matt Newberry with Liberty Utilities, he runs their transportation electrification program. Liberty Utilities is one of the utilities that services the lake, populations at the lake. Started this conversation about, again, these, I'm not going to use the word unique, but these specific needs of communities or regions like the Tahoe Basin. The Tahoe Basin is, of course, unique in its governance structure with the 6 counties, if I got that right, 6 counties, 2 states, and feds with the compact. And so it also brings in those particular challenges. So we really wanted to do something that addresses the jewel of the Sierra, and really kind of not just identify the problems, but really try to get at the solutions. And some of that includes obviously accessing funding and all of that. And then looking at all the different ways that we can look at electrification of recreational vehicles, of boats, the ferry system that you've mentioned, all of those things to really alleviate the air emissions issues and the traffic concerns, and the infrastructure that's needed to do that. And I think that because it is a tourist location, you have really broad support from all of the businesses up there, the hotels, the casinos, even the resorts corridor that goes down to Truckee. Everybody recognizes that this is a problem. And it's really just trying to get all of those stakeholders in the room and try to get solutions on the ground.
Well, one of the interesting things has been with COVID and people working away from their offices, that a lot of people from California moved to Lake Tahoe.
Hard to find a house.
Yeah, and very expensive.
Yes.
And a lot of people in the past had 2 homes, so they would come to Tahoe either winter or summer for vacation, but they weren't permanent residents. Now we've got even more permanent residents, plus you have an increase in the hotel business and the casino business up there, and that's great for the economy, but Fodor, as the travel guide, put out a warning saying, don't go to Tahoe, because, in my words, they were loving it to death.
Right. Well, you've identified the issue, and I think this is something that it's not a new discussion. I personally had worked as a sub-consultant on the One Tahoe project that came up before the pandemic to try to identify ways to bring in funding to address these transportation infrastructure, because if you don't do it, there's going to be significant impacts to the tourism economy, and let alone the environment. It's encompassing so many different aspects in a almost like a microcosm, right? So I think this is a great step. Everybody's really energized about it. The city of South Lake Tahoe has been a great partner. The community college is really excited about doing this on an annual basis. Obviously, Liberty RTC has been a great partner of ours, Nevada Energy. Everybody is really excited to be there and try to work on the solutions to solve this, what's going on in this beautiful area of ours.
RTC obviously is involved in all kinds of federal grants and programs like that. What kind of monies have you seen so far that might be available for projects like this?
There are a lot of discretionary grants, especially with the IIJA. So that's something.
IIJA?
The infrastructure bill.
Oh, okay.
The bipartisan infrastructure bill, I think is what it is. It's got a couple of different names.
Right.
But yeah, so there's all these different competitive grants that people can apply for, and we've actually applied for several of them. We're getting a grant of about $8 million to purchase 6 more hydrogen fuel cell buses, and then also to help with the infrastructure. And there's also basically a digital training for our mechanics so that they know how to work on these buses if something goes wrong with them.
All right, well, let's take a break. We'll come back much more on this topic after this timeout.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you, because trucks move America forward.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org. Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Lina, Tana, and Paul Nelson. We're talking about the Nevada Clean Energy and Transportation Conference. If you're watching this on TV, it already happened. If you're listening to it or watching it on any of our other platforms, it is about to happen. And what dates?
September 29th, and it's from 8 to 5, including a cocktail hour, and it is at the Lake Tahoe Community College in South Lake Tahoe.
Okay, and anybody can come if they want to?
Yes, you can register online. We have an Eventbrite page and a web page, which I can...
You'll look up when I'm talking to Paul here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paul, what I wanted to ask you about was one of the interesting things, as I mentioned earlier, I did purchase an electric car, and going to Tahoe, ironically, first time I needed to charge the car outside of my house. And I went online and found that there were 2 chargers in North Lake Tahoe at the Save Mart, and they were both open when we got there. I took one, somebody else took the other one. But it made me think, boy, there's only 2 of these, and if there were 2 or 3 people ahead of me, I would be here a really long time, because just to charge 25% to get my car back up to 100% took 45 minutes. So if there were going to be several people in front of me, this could be an hours-long process. How is RTC looking at this in terms of your future needs, and what kind of infrastructure you're going to have to put in to accommodate the future that is rushing towards us?
One of the things that we're looking into right now is purchasing, building out on the 4th Street station, building one more building out there, which would have more charging capabilities. And that could be a possibility of even electric car charging for people. If they want to park downtown, they can charge it there. And then, there's another thing with going back to the hydrogen. You don't see hydrogen gas stations all over the place in Reno. So we've got to put that infrastructure in at our Sutro place before we can even start operating these hydrogen buses.
All right, so do you have line items in the budget for this already, or is this something that's going to have to come up for discussion with the board and be approved?
We did there was a grant that we participated in with NV Energy last year, and so there is a lot of encouragement coming from the government, the state government, the federal government, trying to speed up the process of putting in infrastructure, charging stations. There's, when you've got apartments and people want to have electric cars, where are they going to charge their vehicles? So are there little parking lots that are nearby that we can put chargers in for people that don't have them in their house? So there's all kinds of different things that we're still looking at that could maybe potentially speed up the process and also make it just easier for whoever has an electric car.
One of the things that I was thinking about as far as Tahoe goes, because obviously you're limited by a 2-lane road around the lake, do you have to buy large tracts of land just outside of the Tahoe Basin to be places where people can park and then ride an RTC type vehicle into the basin to be able to utilize these other forms of transportation? Have you thought that far through?
I'm aware that there is a public transit station in some level of construction up at the lake to address these issues. I think that the last I heard about it, they were still looking for some funding to finish it off, but that would be one space for the public transit piece. Obviously, that's all part of the larger infrastructure issues that you're identifying, and along with your question to Paul, where do we put in these this charging infrastructure for both transit and for individuals? And I know Nevada, I can't speak for what's going on the California side. I'm going to get myself an education myself. But for Nevada Energy, they have applied to the commission and been approved to do these profile sites, one of which is what they would call like an iconic tour site up at the lake, and another one in the Red Rocks region of Southern Nevada.
What do you mean a profile state?
So they have essentially set profiles, design, I guess is the right word to say, of how they would construct that charging infrastructure. So it would most likely involve level 3 charging, maybe some level of
which
level
is
2.
the superchargers.
Correct. And so again, it depends on your identifying, well, when I pull up to the grocery store and there's a level 2, it's going to take me 45 minutes.
No, that's a level 3.
Oh, that was a level 3?
That was the shocking thing was
okay.
the supercharger was not that rapid by comparison.
Interesting.
Let's take another break, a few more things here, and then we'll be right back. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Remember 2010 in Northern Nevada, 13 to 14% unemployment, thousands of homes in foreclosure, Nevada's casinos closing? Families in the Reno-Sparks area were hurting. Many were losing everything. Then Story County launched a game changer for our region, a public-private industrial partnership, streamlined permitting, slashed bureaucracy, attracting Fortune 500 companies that made Nevada their home. Story County generated a river of cash to area communities. Economic studies by the state and others for the Gigafactory consistently show positive economic benefits for our region. $4 billion in local wages, $17 billion in consumer spending and economic activity, over $100 million in taxes to Washoe, Story, Reno, Sparks, and Nevada, just for the Gigafactory alone. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Lina Tanner. She is with the Nevada Clean Energy and Transportation Conference. Paul Nelson of RTC of Washoe County with Government Affairs is part of that. Once again, I just want to mention that if you're watching this on television, it's already happened. If you're listening to it on any of our other platforms or watching it there, it's still to come. So please give us the website and the dates.
Yeah, please join us September 29th. It's at the South Lake Tahoe Community College in South Lake Tahoe. You can register at www.electrifytahoetransportation.org. It's from 8 to 5.
All right. Okay, so now here's the big question which I've been asking everybody, including Doug Cannon at NV Energy, in a couple of different conversations. Are we looking at something that is really 20 to 30 years out rather than something that's going to happen overnight? Because the way that the media portrays it in general is, boom, let's get this done, we're all going to be electrified, gasoline engines are over. And yet we know that the reality is that gasoline cars are not going to go away anytime soon. What is the time, and I love RTCs and airports and state demographers, because you have to look out 30 years. So what's the timeline you're looking at for RTC?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Wow. There's government honesty right there.
I mean, we've already got our infrastructure in for our buses, but we had the resources to do it. And when you're trying to really change our transportation system, there's a lot of curveballs that come at you. And so it's really kind of hard, for me at least, to guess when we might have all this ready to go.
Okay, same question to you, Lina.
You know, I would say the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if California maintains its schedule to no longer sell combustion vehicles. I believe it's by 2030. That's,
yes.
That's 7 years away. So what is the,
and
what
in my
effect does that
opinion,
have?
absurd.
And it may very well be. I mean, it's going to have a huge impact on
Nevada
the
car
interstate
dealers
commerce.
are going to make a fortune because people are going to come from California.
People still want them.
Right.
Yeah. But it's these kinds of steps where, nothing in the energy space is overnight. Sam, I mean, you know that. It's like it is all about planning. That's why we have 30-year planning at the commission with 3-year regular updates, right? Because things change, and we have to address our economy. We have to address things like a pandemic. All of those things change. So I do think.
And you can't have stranded assets.
And you can't have stranded assets, exactly. So I think it's not an overnight sensation. It is something that as we move towards integrating, it becomes more common, people have less range anxiety, products get better, charging gets better, hopefully level 3 gets better than 45 minutes. But yeah, so I think it's happening. But all of this is about educating people and understanding that their choices that they make, in buying an electric car, in utilizing public transportation at a place like Lake Tahoe is really important.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you both very much. Fascinating topic. So much more to come. And we'll be right back.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can always watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day by downloading the audio or video podcast, watching us on YouTube, or just go to the website, NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next broadcast.